I mean, he's one of those, you know, great stories that really turned his life around and goes out there and motivationally speaker and has helped a lot of people today. But as you read in his book, he talks about figuring out that I really thought I was a failure, and that's what kept, you know, that's why I kept hitting those bumps in the road in my life. And it went back to, you know, when I was 5. And whoever even thought about it, I just remember, oh yeah, that happened. But I had no idea how it affected me and my core and who I am. And he was able to let that go. And all the, you know, and you can read, if you read his book, you know, every drugs and I mean, all the other dysfunctional things that he did in his life, you know, assuming it was for other reasons, and it came back to his negative core belief. So with cognitive therapy, initially we teach people how to change their thoughts, because that can help you right now. You know, you can come in and learn the tool and say, I can leave, and I can start figuring out what am I thinking and how to change it. The core belief we do a little bit down the road, because this takes time to change. Because part of it is like if you think of the steer branded, you know, this is like branded in your brain at the core of who you are. So it definitely can change. It just takes a little bit longer. Because some people say, why do you know, go here first? And I'm like, well, you know, normally people come in, they're in distress, and you want to give them something to leave and say, this is something you can do right now. Starting to talk about your core belief, it can be overwhelming too, because it's unconscious. When we figure out that I think I'm unlovable or not good enough for others, can be, you know, it's a very emotional process for people, you know. And I had one client, she like just destroyed the book, and I said, you could have just closed it, but that's okay. But she started dealing with her cores, and it was like, you know, I tell people, if you're not ready, we don't have to even go there yet. Because it's really emotional when you start looking at those things. But eventually you want to change your core beliefs, so that also helps, again, eliminate the negative automatic thoughts that you have. So that's just, I just want to share that a little bit about that too, because that's the part of the cognitive therapy as well. Okay. So again, if you guys, if you did, if you didn't, it's okay, but if you know, if you drew the diagram down, just, you know, when you're in a situation, you can look at it and just say, where do I fit in here? What am I thinking about? How am I feeling? What am I doing? What are my reactions? You know, and is my thought 100% true? And if you have someone in your life you feel safe enough with, you can always go and have them help. Because when we're in a bad place, it's hard to challenge our thoughts because we believe them. We got a lot of more thoughts to support our negative thoughts. So you might go to someone you feel, you know, you have trust with and say, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think about that? Okay. Also, how you can use this with other people in your life. If someone's upset with you, or your, you know, kids are struggling, or a friend, and they're so upset, just stop them and say, what are you thinking? They may first say, what do you mean, what am I thinking? I'm upset, you know. Just say, what are you thinking right now? And you can use the tool to help process with them. They might say, I'm thinking, you know, you broke up with me, I'm never going to have another boyfriend in my life. You know, we call them hot, those are hot thoughts. Okay? So, well, is that really true that you're never going to have a boyfriend for the rest of your life? You know? And you can help people start processing their thoughts instead of just focusing on how they're feeling, but their moods will get better. The goal is to feel better. But by going to your thoughts and challenging them, that's how you can get to that place of feeling better. Okay? Okay. Do you guys have any questions?
I'm reading in therapy Mind Over Food.
Oh, great.
And I'm just at the point where I don't quite understand the core belief chapter. You put it in perspective for me.
Oh, good.
And it's an uncomfortable chapter.
Very uncomfortable, yes.
So now I know what I'm dealing with more.
Right. And there's, you know, because you know, there's in this book there's different vignettes, and there's one woman named Marissa, and she had a lot of emotional abuse and all those, you know, terrible things, and hers is unlovable. And it even says in the book, you know, after a year, she at the beginning her lovability was at 0, and after a year it was at 70, which is huge. But you know, it took that time. But when people say a year, they say you've been living this with 40 years. What's a year?
Right.
You know, if you know, if you want to kind of put it into perspective, that in reality it doesn't take a long time, but it does take work because it's so deep. Yeah.
I got a question.
Okay.
And the question has to do about society's core beliefs. And I think one of the difficulties, like society has a core belief about that we should be all put together, and that don't talk about our difficulties or our failures openly, and that prevents people from really getting access to these core beliefs. So we go to a therapist, to help us, whereas we're not really able to do that. There's not the openness in society. So let's talk about these core beliefs amongst friends and whatever. So I think there's almost like a core belief amongst society that counteracts the ability to really kind of work through this whole process.
Right, and then I can kind of jump back to the environment part of cognitive therapy, is you want to look at your environment and say, do I have the kind of people in my life that I can call up and say, I'm just feeling really unworthy right now, and someone can be okay with that and talk you through it. So again, going back to that environment, because again, yeah, the messages like I was saying about, you know, how you should look, clothes to buy, cars to drive, schools to go to, you know, that type of thing puts a lot of pressure on everybody. And it's hard to have no ego. There are few people that have no ego in the world. And it's our ego that gets caught up in those stuff with the world. So that's when you have to make your world smaller, I think, and say, am I creating a world that's safe for me? And that I, you know, other than a therapist, we all have therapists, but other than a therapist, do I have other people in my life that I can go to and I know that they're there for me, you know, no matter what?
My sister was a psychotic alcoholic and died in her early 40s from alcoholism. But now her daughter, I just found out about 2 months ago that she's an alcoholic. She was drinking wine, so I wouldn't find out, but that's the way she was soothing herself. So my therapist recommended I go to Al-Anon, and it's a very good group. I've only been 4 times, but they hug each other and they talk about very personal problems. And I think that's a really good group for anybody that is seeing a loved one getting destroyed through alcoholism or drugs.
Oh, yep, and good for you that you're going.
Yeah.
And for anybody, I'm glad you found a good group. I tell people, you know, that sometimes you gotta shop around.
Yeah.
Sometimes people go to one group and say, oh, I didn't really like those people, so they don't go back.
Yeah.
You know, so you wanna shop around so you feel comfortable.
I
Well, that's great
actually-
you found one.
Well, I actually will try others because it's a large group.
Okay,
But there's a few people that will talk after the group
yeah.
and hug you and talk about the literature. So
And
I'm-
that's an environment you're creating. When you go, that's an environment in itself.
yes.
You know, us together today is an environment. Whenever you're doing anything, so you're creating a good environment of support for you,
Yes, right,
so that you can manage your feelings about your needs.
right.